September 1944, the island of Peleliu, a speck of coral and jungle in the western Pacific, is about to become the site of one of the most brutal battles of World War II. The U.S. Marines, veterans of Guadalcanal, Tarawa, and Saipan, are preparing to storm the beaches. Their mission: seize the island's airfield and break the Japanese defensive line. But what they don't know is that Peleliu will test them in ways they've never imagined, and that a new kind of enemy is waiting in the trees. The Japanese defenders on Peleliu are masters of camouflage, concealment, and psychological warfare. Among their deadliest weapons are the snipers, expert marksmen who have turned the jungle canopy into a fortress. These snipers are not just shooters, they are hunters. They climb high into the trees, dig spider holes in the coral, and wait for hours, sometimes days, for the perfect shot. Their rifles are old but accurate, and their patience is legendary. For the Marines, the first days on Peleliu are a nightmare. The beaches are swept by machine gun fire, the coral ridges are honeycombed with bunkers, and every advance is met with a hail of bullets. But it's the snipers who make life truly hellish. They pick off officers, radio men, and medics. They target anyone who moves, anyone who stands out, anyone who looks important. The Marines quickly learn to keep their heads down, to move in short bursts, and to trust no patch of jungle. The sniper's effectiveness is not just a matter of marksmanship, it's psychological. Every Marine knows that death could come from anywhere, at any time. The sound of a single rifle shot echoes through the trees, and men dive for cover, unsure where the danger is. The snipers are ghosts unseen, unpredictable, and seemingly invulnerable. The Japanese have perfected their craft. They use decoys, helmets on sticks, fake gun barrels, and even mannequins to draw American fire and reveal positions. They set traps, booby-trap likely sniper hides, and move constantly to avoid detection. Some snipers work in pairs, one to draw fire, the other to take the shot. The result is a battlefield where every tree, every shadow, every rustle of leaves could mean death. The Marines respond with everything they have. They use mortar, grenades, and flamethrowers to clear suspected sniper nests. They send out patrols to hunt the hunters, using their own marksmen to try to even the odds. But the jungle is thick, the enemy is patient, and the casualties mount. The snipers are winning. The frustration grows. Every advance is slowed by the need to clear the trees. Every casualty is a blow to morale. The Marines begin to dread the sound of a single rifle shot, the sudden silence that means a sniper is watching. The enemy seems untouchable, immune to the usual tactics. But the Marines are nothing if not adaptable. They begin to experiment with new ideas, new weapons, and new ways to fight back. Some units try using shotguns loaded with buckshot to blast snipers out of the trees. Others call in tanks to fire high-explosive shells into the jungle, but the results are mixed. The snipers are still there, still deadly, still dictating the pace of the battle. It's in this atmosphere of desperation and innovation that Lieutenant Walker, a young Marine officer with a reputation for thinking outside the box, comes up with a radical idea. He watches as a Navy landing craft fires its 40mm Bofors anti-aircraft gun at a Japanese position on the beach. The explosive shells tear through the palm trees, splintering wood and sending debris flying. Walker wonders, if a 40mm cannon can bring down a plane, what would it do to a sniper nest in the jungle canopy? He talks to his gunnery sergeant, who is skeptical, but willing to try. They requisition a Bofors gun from a nearby ship, haul it ashore, and set it up on the edge of the jungle. The crew loads the gun with high-explosive shells, aims at a suspected sniper position, and opens fire. The effect is immediate and devastating. The shells explode in the treetops, shredding branches, collapsing nests, and sending shockwaves through the jungle. The snipers, once invisible and invulnerable, are suddenly exposed and obliterated. The Marines watch in awe as the 40mm shells do what rifles and grenades could not. The psychological impact is immediate. The snipers, who had once felt safe in their elevated positions, are now terrified. The tables have turned. Lieutenant Walker's experiment with the 40mm Bofors cannon was a revelation. The first time the gun crew fired into the treetops, the effect was immediate and dramatic. The high-explosive shells didn't just knock down branches, they obliterated entire sniper nests, sending wood, leaves, and enemy sharpshooters crashing to the ground. The Marines who witnessed it knew instantly that they had found a new weapon in their fight against the invisible enemy above. Word of the success spread quickly through the ranks. Other Marine units, struggling with their own sniper problems, began to request Bofors guns from nearby ships and airfields. The Navy, always eager to support the ground war, was happy to lend the weapons. Soon, 40mm cannons were being hauled ashore on makeshift sleds, set up at the jungle's edge and aimed at any patch of green that looked suspicious. The tactic was simple, but devastating. Instead of trying to pick off snipers one by one with rifles or machine guns, the Marines used the Bofors to saturate entire areas with explosive fire. If a sniper was suspected in a particular tree or ridge, the gun crew would fire a burst of shells, turning the area into a storm of shrapnel and splinters. The goal was not precision, but overwhelming force destroy the hiding places, and the snipers would have nowhere left to run. The psychological impact on the Japanese was profound. For months, their snipers had ruled the jungle, moving with impunity and striking fear into the hearts of American troops. Now, they were the ones being hunted. Survivors described the terror of hearing the distinctive thump-thump-thump of the Bofors, followed by the crack and roar of exploding shells. The trees that had once been their sanctuary became death traps. Marines quickly adapted their tactics to take advantage of the new weapon. Patrols would move through the jungle, flushing out snipers and marking their positions with smoke grenades or colored panels. The Bofors crews would then lay down a barrage, clearing the way for the infantry to advance. In some cases, the guns were mounted on trucks or half-tracks, allowing them to move quickly from one hotspot to another. The results were undeniable. In the month after Walker's innovation, the squadron using the Bofors guns ambushed and destroyed 40 enemy snipers, more than any other unit in the theater. The tactic became a point of pride, a symbol of Marine ingenuity and adaptability. Pilots flying overhead reported seeing entire sections of jungle flattened by the gunfire, with no sign of enemy movement. But the success of the Bofors tactic was not just about firepower. It was about changing the psychology of the battlefield. The Japanese snipers, once confident and aggressive, became cautious and fearful. Some abandoned their positions at the first sign of a Bofors crew setting up nearby. Others tried to dig deeper, build stronger nests, or move more frequently, but the Marines always seemed to find them. The innovation also had a ripple effect on the rest of the campaign. With the sniper threat reduced, Marine units were able to move more quickly, take more ground, and support each other more effectively. Casualties dropped, morale improved, and the momentum of the battle shifted in favor of the Americans. The use of the Bofors gun for ground support was not without its challenges. The guns were heavy, difficult to move through the jungle, and required a steady supply of ammunition. The crews had to be trained to fire at low angles to avoid hitting friendly troops and to coordinate with infantry and artillery. But the benefits far outweighed the difficulties. The success of the tactic also caught the attention of higher command. Reports of the Bofors' effectiveness made their way up the chain, and soon other divisions were experimenting with similar methods. The Army and Navy began to study the use of anti-aircraft guns for ground support, and new doctrines were developed to incorporate the lessons learned on Peleliu. For the Marines on the ground, the change was immediate and personal. The fear of snipers, once a constant presence, began to fade. The men who had once dreaded every step through the jungle now moved with more confidence, knowing that they had a weapon that could reach the enemy wherever he hid. The laughter and relief that greeted each successful barrage was a testament to the power of innovation in the face of adversity. The Japanese snipers on Peleliu were not just skilled marksmen, they were masters of adaptation. When the Marines first unleashed the 40mm Bofors cannons against the treetops, the effect was devastating, but the Japanese were quick learners. As the Marines' new tactics spread, the snipers began to change their own methods, turning the battle into a deadly game of cat and mouse. At first, the Japanese tried to reinforce their sniper nests. They built thicker platforms, used more camouflage, and even lined some positions with sandbags or coconut husks to absorb shrapnel. Some snipers abandoned the trees altogether, moving to ground-level spider holes or caves where the Bofors shells were less effective. Others began to move more frequently, never staying in one place for long, and using decoys, helmets on sticks, fake rifles, and even mannequins to draw Marine fire and reveal the location of the Bofors crews. The Marines, in turn, adapted their tactics. Patrols became more aggressive, using scouts and spotters to identify likely sniper positions before calling in the Bofors. Infantry squads learned to coordinate with the gun crews, marking targets with smoke grenades or colored panels. Sometimes, they would use a single Marine as bait, moving him through a clearing to draw sniper fire, then unleashing a barrage of 40mm shells on the suspected position. The battle became a test of nerves, patience, and ingenuity. The Japanese snipers, once the hunters, now found themselves hunted. The psychological impact was profound. Survivors described the terror of hearing the Bofors open up, the trees exploding around them, and the knowledge that their once safe perches were now death traps. Some snipers began to refuse orders to climb into the trees, preferring the relative safety of the ground. Others tried to escape at night, only to be caught by Marine patrols. The Marines, for their part, gained a new respect for their enemy. They knew that every sniper they killed was a skilled, determined opponent. The cat-and-mouse game was dangerous. More than one Marine was lost to a sniper who managed to fire first or who set a trap for the Bofors crew. But the Marines' willingness to adapt, to try new tactics, and to work as a team gave them the edge. The use of the Bofors gun also changed the way the Marines thought about firepower. The old idea of precision marksmanship, one shot, one kill, was replaced by the concept of area saturation. If you couldn't see the sniper, you could still destroy his hiding place. The 40mm shells didn't just kill, they obliterated. Trees were splintered, branches rained down, and entire sections of jungle were flattened. The psychological effect on the Japanese was as important as the physical destruction. The innovation didn't stop with the Bofors. Marines began to experiment with other weapons: bazookas, mortar, even tank guns to clear sniper nests. The idea was always the same: use overwhelming force to deny the enemy any safe place to hide. The jungle, once the sniper's greatest ally, became a killing ground. The Japanese command tried to counter the new tactics with their own innovations. They ordered snipers to dig deeper, to use tunnels and interconnected positions, and to coordinate with machine gun teams for mutual support. Some snipers began to use booby traps, rigging their nests with grenades or explosives to kill Marines who came to investigate after a barrage. The battle became a war of wits, with each side trying to outthink and outmaneuver the other. But the Marines' advantage in firepower and flexibility was overwhelming. The Bofors crews became experts at reading the jungle, anticipating enemy moves, and adjusting their fire on the fly. The coordination between infantry, artillery, and anti-aircraft crews became a model for future operations. The lessons learned on Peleliu would be applied in later battles: Okinawa, Iwo Jima, and beyond. The psychological impact on the Japanese was devastating. The snipers, once the terror of the jungle, now lived in fear. The knowledge that a single burst from a 40mm cannon could end their lives at any moment eroded their confidence and morale. Some began to surrender, others deserted, and many simply stopped firing, hoping to avoid detection. For the Marines, the success of the Bofors tactic was a source of pride and a testament to their adaptability. The story of the sniper busters spread through the ranks, becoming a legend among the men who fought in the Pacific. The innovation was recognized by higher command and soon became part of official doctrine. The use of anti-aircraft guns for ground support was no longer an experiment, it was a proven tactic. The Marines' use of 40mm Bofors cannons against Japanese snipers on Peleliu was more than just a clever trick, it was a turning point in the battle and a glimpse of the future of warfare. As the campaign wore on, the psychological and tactical impact of this innovation became impossible to ignore. The snipers who had once terrorized the Marines were now the ones living in fear, and the balance of power in the jungle had shifted. The Bofors gun, originally designed to shoot down enemy aircraft, was never meant for ground combat. But its high explosive shells, rapid rate of fire, and ability to saturate an area with shrapnel made it the perfect weapon for clearing sniper nests. The Marines quickly learned how to use the gun's strengths to their advantage. Instead of trying to pick off snipers one by one, they would identify likely hiding spots, clusters of trees, thick canopies, or suspicious ridges and unleash a barrage of 40mm shells. The effect was devastating. Trees exploded, branches rained down, and any sniper unlucky enough to be caught in the blast was either killed or forced to flee. The impact on the battle was immediate. The Marines, who had been stalled by sniper fire and forced to move cautiously through the jungle, were now able to advance more quickly and with greater confidence. The fear of being picked off by an unseen enemy began to fade. Patrols moved more aggressively, and the tempo of the campaign increased. The Bofors crews became heroes, their guns a symbol of Marine ingenuity and firepower, but the real victory was psychological. The Japanese snipers, who had once felt invulnerable in their treetop nests, now lived in constant fear of the next barrage. Survivors described the terror of hearing the Bofors open up, the trees exploding around them, and the knowledge that their best hiding places were now death traps. Some snipers abandoned their positions, others dug deeper or tried to blend in with the ground troops, but the sense of safety was gone. The Marine success with the Bofors gun also changed the way the Army and Navy thought about fire support. The idea of using anti-aircraft guns for ground combat was quickly adopted in other theaters. On Okinawa, Iwo Jima, and even in Europe, commanders began to experiment with using Bofors and other rapid-fire guns to clear bunkers, trenches, and fortified positions. The concept of area saturation, using explosive firepower to deny the enemy any safe place to hide, became a standard part of the playbook. The innovation also had a ripple effect on the development of new weapons and tactics. Engineers began to design lighter, more mobile versions of the Bofors gun, mounting them on trucks, half-tracks, and even amphibious vehicles. The idea was to bring heavy firepower wherever it was needed, quickly and flexibly. The lessons learned on Peleliu would influence the design of future close support weapons, from the Vietnam War's Puff the Magic Dragon gunships to today's mobile artillery and drone strikes. But the story of the Bofors gun on Peleliu is also a lesson in the power of adaptation. The Marines didn't wait for orders from above or for new equipment to arrive from the States. They looked at the tools they had, thought creatively, and found a way to solve a deadly problem. The success of the tactic was a testament to the value of frontline innovation, the willingness to try something new, even if it meant breaking the rules. The Japanese, for their part, never fully recovered from the shock. The loss of their snipers, the destruction of their best hiding places, and the relentless pressure of Marine firepower broke their morale. The defenders of Peleliu fought bravely, but the outcome was never in doubt. The island fell, and the Marines moved on to the next battle, carrying with them the lessons of adaptation and the confidence that comes from overcoming a seemingly unbeatable enemy. The legacy of the Bofors gun on Peleliu is still felt today. The tactic of using anti-aircraft guns for ground support has become a standard part of modern warfare. The idea of area saturation, of using overwhelming firepower to deny the enemy any safe haven, is now a core principle of artillery and close support doctrine. And the story of the Marines, who turned a naval weapon into a jungle clearing tool, is a reminder that the best solutions often come from the people who are closest to the fight. The battle for Peleliu was over, but the lessons learned there were just beginning to ripple through the U.S. military. The Marines' use of 40mm Bofors anti-aircraft guns to blast Japanese snipers out of the trees was more than a battlefield trick. It was a breakthrough that would change the way armies thought about fire support, close combat, and the value of adapting to the enemy in real time. As the Marines moved on to new islands Okinawa, Iwo Jima, and beyond, the story of the Bofors gun spread quickly. Commanders who had once relied on mortar, rifles, and grenades to deal with snipers now saw the value of heavy, rapid-fire artillery in close-quarters jungle fighting. The Bofors, with its high explosive shells and rapid rate of fire, became a standard tool for clearing not just snipers, but bunkers, caves, and fortified positions. The innovation didn't stop with the Marines. The Army, Navy, and even the Air Force began to experiment with using anti-aircraft guns for ground support. On Okinawa, Army units mounted Bofors guns on half-tracks and trucks, using them to sweep ridges and forests before infantry advances. In the Philippines, Navy landing parties brought Bofors ashore to support amphibious assaults, blasting enemy positions before the first wave of troops hit the beach. The success of the Bofors tactic also influenced the design of new weapons. Engineers began to develop lighter, more mobile versions of the gun, mounting them on armored vehicles and amphibious craft. The idea was to bring heavy firepower wherever it was needed, quickly and flexibly. The lessons of Peleliu would echo in the design of the Vietnam War's Puff the Magic Dragon gunships, the AC-130 Spectre, and even today's mobile artillery and drone strikes. But the most important change was in doctrine. The Marines' experience on Peleliu became a case study in the value of adaptation and innovation. Training manuals were updated to include the use of anti-aircraft guns for ground support. New tactics were developed for coordinating artillery, infantry, and armor in close combat. The concept of area saturation, using explosive firepower to deny the enemy any safe place to hide, became a standard part of the playbook. The psychological impact of the Bofors gun was also recognized. The Marines had learned that fear could be as powerful a weapon as firepower. The knowledge that a single burst from a 40mm cannon could obliterate a sniper nest, flatten a bunker, or clear a patch of jungle changed the way both sides fought. Japanese soldiers, once confident in their ability to dominate the jungle, now lived in fear of the next barrage. The Marines, once paralyzed by sniper fire, now moved with confidence and aggression. The story of Peleliu also became a lesson in the value of listening to the people on the ground. The idea to use the Bofors gun didn't come from a general or a weapons designer, it came from a lieutenant who saw a problem and wasn't afraid to try something new. The success of the tactic was a testament to the power of frontline innovation and a reminder that the best ideas often come from those who are closest to the fight. After the war, the lessons of Peleliu were studied by military planners around the world. The use of anti-aircraft guns for ground support became a standard part of modern warfare. The concept of area saturation, of using overwhelming firepower to deny the enemy any safe haven, is now a core principle of artillery and close support doctrine. The story of the Marines, who turned a naval weapon into a jungle clearing tool, is a reminder that the best solutions often come from the people who are willing to break the rules. The legacy of the Bofors gun can be seen in every modern military force. Today's armies use a wide range of rapid-fire, high-explosive weapons to support infantry in close combat. The idea of using heavy firepower to clear enemy positions, suppress snipers, and break the enemy's will to fight is now standard practice. The lessons of Peleliu are built into every new weapon, every new tactic, and every new doctrine. But the story is also a lesson in humility. The Marines who fought on Peleliu didn't see themselves as heroes or innovators. They were just doing what needed to be done, using the tools they had to solve the problems they faced. Their willingness to adapt, to try new things, and to trust their instincts made all the difference. The Japanese, for their part, learned their own lessons. The loss of their snipers, the destruction of their best hiding places, and the relentless pressure of Marine firepower forced them to rethink their tactics. In later battles, they relied more on caves, tunnels, and underground bunkers, places where even the Bofors gun had limited effect. The arms race between offense and defense continued, but the psychological impact of the Marines' innovation lingered. The story of the Bofors gun on Peleliu is a reminder that war is not just about technology or firepower. It's about people, about the ability to adapt, to learn, and to find new ways to win when the old ways no longer work. The Marines' success was not just a matter of having the right weapon, but of having the right mindset. As the war moved on and the Marines faced new challenges, the spirit of innovation remained. The sniper busters of Peleliu became a legend, a story told in training classes, reunions, and history books. The lessons they learned about the value of adaptation, the power of teamwork, and the importance of listening to the people on the ground became part of the Marine Corps' DNA. The story of the Marines and their 40mm Bofors guns on Peleliu is more than just a tale of battlefield ingenuity. It's a lesson in how innovation, adaptability, and the willingness to break the rules can change the course of a battle and leave a mark on military history that endures to this day. After the battle, the Marines who had witnessed the power of the Bofors gun never forgot what they'd seen. The memory of trees exploding, sniper nests obliterated, and the sudden shift in morale was burned into their minds. For many, it was the moment they realized that victory in war often goes to those who can adapt the fastest, not just those with the biggest guns or the most men. The impact of the Bofors innovation was felt long after the last shots were fired on Peleliu. As the Marines moved on to Okinawa and other islands, the lessons learned in the jungle were carried with them. The use of anti-aircraft guns for ground support became a standard tactic, not just for clearing snipers, but for breaking up enemy strongpoints, bunkers, and even tanks. The idea that a weapon designed for one purpose could be repurposed for another became a core principle of Marine Corps' doctrine. This spirit of adaptation didn't stop with the Marines. The Army, Navy, and Air Force all took note of the success on Peleliu. In Korea, Vietnam, and even in the Middle East, the concept of using rapid-fire, high-explosive weapons for close support became a staple of modern warfare. The area saturation tactic, using overwhelming firepower to deny the enemy any safe place to hide, was refined and expanded. Today, everything from mobile artillery to helicopter gunships and drone strikes owes something to the lessons learned in the jungles of Peleliu. But the legacy of the Bofors gun is not just technical, it's psychological. The Marines' willingness to try something new, to trust their instincts, and to work as a team changed the way they saw themselves and their enemy. The fear that once paralyzed them in the face of Japanese snipers was replaced by confidence and aggression. The knowledge that they could adapt, innovate, and win became a source of pride and a foundation for future success. The Japanese, too, learned from the experience. The loss of their snipers, the destruction of their best hiding places, and the relentless pressure of Marine firepower forced them to rethink their tactics. In later battles, they relied more on underground bunkers, tunnels, and caves defenses that required new innovations from the Americans. The arms race between offense and defense continued, but the psychological impact of the Bofors gun lingered. The story of Peleliu also became a lesson in the value of listening to the people on the ground. The idea to use the Bofors gun didn't come from a general or a weapons designer, it came from a lieutenant who saw a problem and wasn't afraid to try something new. The success of the tactic was a testament to the power of frontline innovation and a reminder that the best ideas often come from those who are closest to the fight. This lesson has been embraced by modern militaries around the world. Today, programs like the U.S. Army's Rapid Equipping Force and the Marine Corps' Marine Maker initiative are designed to encourage soldiers and Marines to share their ideas, experiment with new solutions, and adapt to changing threats. The story of the Bofors gun on Peleliu is often cited as an example of why these programs matter. The legacy of the Bofors gun can also be seen in the way modern armies train and equip their troops. The emphasis on flexibility, adaptability, and the ability to use any available tool to solve a problem is now a core part of military culture. The idea that a weapon designed for one purpose can be repurposed for another is standard practice. The lessons of Peleliu are built into every new weapon, every new tactic, and every new doctrine. But perhaps the most important legacy of the Bofors gun is the reminder that war is not just about technology or firepower. It's about people, about the ability to adapt, to learn, and to find new ways to win when the old ways no longer work. The Marines' success was not just a matter of having the right weapon, but of having the right mindset. The story of the Bofors gun on Peleliu is a testament to the power of innovation, the value of teamwork, and the importance of listening to the people who are closest to the action. It's a reminder that the best solutions often come from the ground up, not the top down. And it's a call to action for anyone who wants to make a difference, be willing to try something new, to take risks, and to trust your instincts. As you finish this documentary, think about what the story of the Bofors gun means for us today. Is it a lesson in the power of innovation, a reminder that the enemy is always adapting, or simply a story of how ordinary people, facing extraordinary challenges, can change the course of history? Whatever it is, let it inspire you to face your own battles with the same spirit of determination and hope. If you've enjoyed this journey through the story of the Marines, the Bofors gun, and the battle for Peleliu, please like, comment, and subscribe for more untold World War II stories and deep dives into the technology and people that shaped history. What do you think is the most important lesson from the Bofors gun's legacy? Share your thoughts below. We love hearing your take. Thank you for joining us on this march through history. Until next time, keep asking questions, keep learning, and keep remembering the real stories behind the legends.